Okay, so our topic for today is week 3, Introduction to Theoretical Computer Science. Okay, so last week we discussed week 1 and week 2. Now, the continuation of our topic is of course week 3 for Theoretical Computer Science. So again, I am Ma'am Jeneline Abamo, your OLC for the subject Automata and Formal Language Theory. So our course learning objectives or outcomes. So by the end of this module, a student is able to, number 1, define and use terminology. Number 2, distinguish between algorithms and non-algorithms. 3, know something about the history of computers up to 1950. So computers must be able to handle input and output. So computers input and output information. Computers process information by computing new results and answering queries. Computers are general purpose because they can perform many different tasks. And computers are programmable so they can remember sequences of operation. So what is the definition of a computer? So again, it is a general purpose, programmable, information processor and with input and output. So let's discuss the specialization of computing devices and information appliance. Now, devices limited by set of operations or programmability. Okay, we have the calculators limited to operations described by their buttons. So we have the GPS or the global positioning system that calculates the latitude and longitude from satellite signals. And of course, we also have the cell phone that allows one to surf into the web. So we also have the information appliances that performs a single job well. Okay? Okay. So embedded computers and robots. So machines with full-fledged computers inside. We have the washing machine, we have the airplane, and we have the ATM. Okay? So such machines require highly reliable, predictable computer programs. Okay? And then all physical mechanisms controlled by computers are robotic devices. So restrict definitions to machine that are general purpose and programmable. We have the robotic arm or we have the cart. So deterministic finite automaton. So I think this is the topic last week. Okay, we have the DFA and we have the NDFA. So again, DFA is represented by diagrams called the state diagram. So vertices represent the states which are in circle, and then the arcs labeled with an input alphabet shows the transition. So arcs are the arrows also. So the initial state is denoted by an empty single incoming arc. So an empty arrow, incoming arrow. So the final state is indicated by the double circle. Okay? So natural computing agents. So living organisms process information in their efforts to eat, survive, and reproduce. So 1940s study showed frogs collect less visual information than people. So identify rapidly moving objects as food, slowly moving objects as predators. So study physical events in terms of information they contain and process. So you have the chemical reactions, crystal formations, and then plant growth. So again, computer is narrow. So definition of computing agent is broad. Although many computer scientists focus on the computer, some computer scientists did deal with computing agents. So now, let's try to discuss the types of computers. Okay, so we have the supercomputer, okay, at the upper part. So we have the mainframe at the lower part, lower right, okay. And we have the mini computers. And we have the microcomputer. So again, we have four types. We have the supercomputer, we have the mainframe computer, we have the mini computer, and we have the microcomputer. Now, this is what a supercomputer looks like, as shown at the bottom of your screen at the right side, okay? This is the example of supercomputer. So it's a high capacity and used by a very large organization that is for tracking space or tracking weather, okay? So maybe when you say weather or space, we're talking about maybe for the like for the weather forecast or also for NASA, okay? Next, we also have the mainframe computers as shown on the screen at the right side on your monitor. So it occupies specially wired air-conditioned rooms. It is capable of great processing speeds and data storage. So not as powerful as supercomputers. So that's how a mainframe computer looks like, okay? Next, we have the mini computers. So these are the different examples of the mini computers. We have four examples as you can see on the screen. So this is also known as the mid-range computers. It is used by medium-sized companies and used by the departments of large companies. Okay, now microcomputers. This is the least powerful, so widely used. There are four different types of microcomputers. Let's discuss one by one. So the four types of microcomputers are, we have the desktop, we have the notebook or laptop, we have the tablet PC, and we have the handheld devices. Okay? So when you say desktop computers, these are small enough to fit on top of your alongside a desk, yet are too big to carry around. That's why it's called as desktop. Okay? Computers in for the desk. Okay? So as you can see for the desktop, there's a monitor, there's a keyboard, there's a mouse, and there's a system unit. Next is the notebook or the laptop computers. So notebook, also known as laptop computers, are portable, lightweight, and fit into most briefcases. So next, we also have the tablet PC. It's a type of notebook computer that accepts your handwriting. Okay? So this input is digitized and converted to standard text that can be further processed by a program such as a word processor. So again, for the tablet PC, you can write directly on the tablet PC and it can save your handwriting. Okay, next we have the handheld devices, or also known as the smallest device, that are also called as the palm computers. So this system typically combine pen input writing, recognition, personal organizational tools, and communications capabilities. Okay, so this is a microcomputer hardware. Okay, so we have a cartridge containing the microprocessor and we have the memory. So this is the system unit. We have the input-output devices. We have the secondary storage. We have the communications. Okay? Okay, let's continue. Let me share my screen again. Okay, so what can computers do today? So one, business productivity, personal information, spreadsheets, database software, desktop publishing, multimedia encyclopedias, simulate the physical world, and produce a music video. So there's a lot of things that you can do with the computer, but these are just merely examples, okay? So what might computers do tomorrow? It can diagnose diseases, okay? So MySyn captures medical knowledge in rows that allow the computer to identify an ailment based on symptoms, okay? I'm just going to, later on, I'm going to show you about the MySyn, okay? And then control robots that walk, talk, and learn. So CMU created a program that drove a van from Pittsburgh to DC using cameras for eyes. And then compose music and create art. Art. Okay? So this is the example of the MySyn. So MySyn is an expert system that uses artificial intelligence, okay? So the main purpose of the MySyn is to detect diseases. So either if they have a bacterial infection, okay, if they have meningitis, okay. So actually the word mycin came from the word mycin antibiotic. Okay, so mycin is actually the medicine. So there's a question and answer portion using the mycin, true or false. So whatever is the highest probability, they will suggest or recommend some medicine or what is the sickness of that person. Okay, so basically the input from the mycin came also from human experts, okay, or the doctors. Okay, and then of course the user of the mycin are the patients. They will ask, they will have a query using the user interface of the mycin, and the mycin will later on give an advice to the patient. Okay, so how do computers solve problems? So humans deconstruct problems into small operations that a computer can carry out by means of what? Writing an algorithm. So if you remember class, so since you are an IT student or a computer science student, we always do programming. So inside programming, what do we do? We create algorithms of the program. You don't just code. You have to write the algorithm. So what is the step-by-step instruction? What will the program do? Okay, that is algorithm. So next, solve a problem by computer requires. So state the problem clearly in a problem statement. Solve the problem with an algorithm that gives clear instructions. So use a computing agent to carry out the instructions. So stating the problem clearly, so describes what to do, not how to do it. So how do I get from Timonium campus to the Beltway? So that's just an example. Solve general classes of problems. How do I get from point A in Timonium to point B? So what is the square root of y? Okay? Specifying a problem. So clear problem statement is called the specification. So what information can we use as input? What the output or solution to our problem should look like? Next, specification for the square root problem. So you have the input, you have the output. So example, a positive number y is greater than 0. So output, a positive number x such that x2 is equals to y. So again, these variables are just an example. So make sure that the specification is not ambiguous, okay? So solving the problem using an algorithm. So again, algorithm is the clear sequence of instruction for performing a task. So again, this is the step-by-step procedure when you say algorithm. So a well-ordered sequence, well-defined, feasible operation that takes finite time to carry out. When you say well-ordered, the algorithm clearly indicates in what order to perform the operation. When you say well-defined, it distinguishes the one action to take out of the many possibilities. When you say feasible, step can be carried out by a realistic computing agent in a reasonable time and effort. Okay? So again, feasibility, we're talking about time. So using the computing agent, requirements imposed by the computing agent, so algorithm is in a language that the computing agent understands. Algorithm uses primitive operations that the agent can carry out. So necessity of artificial language. So the problem with natural language like English, so flexible, often ambiguous, so computers use artificial language with precise meaning. So mathematical equation, music notation, programming languages. So programming language define primitive operations computing agents understand. So class, if you remember, if you use the Java, if you use the C++, okay, there is what you called what? Reserved words, okay? When you say reserved words, it performs a specific function that is installed inside the library of the what? Of the programming languages. So once compiled, they will understand, the programming language will understand what is that for, or what is that, for example, I use if, I use and if, okay? The compiler will understand what is the purpose of those words, okay? Next. Okay, let's move to the next slide. So what is computer science? So computer science is the study of computers. So the study of algorithmic processes including their theory, analysis, design, implementation, and application. So study how to make computers more like us. So to have flexibility in their instruction that allows them to decide which action is best under certain circumstances. Okay? So study which problems have solutions that can be solved in a reasonable amount of time. Study the most efficient ways to solve problem. So again, this is the definition of computer science. Take note of that. So study how to make information more secure. Study how to improve communication between computers. Study how to improve the quality of computer programs. Study how to improve programming languages. So meaning to say is how to improve programming languages. You can create your own programming language if you are a computer science student. You can do that. Study how to improve the interaction between people and computers. Study how to improve people's access to information, and study how to improve the ability of computers to graphically model the world. Okay, now, who invented computers? So computer science has roots in two fields. Actually, the two fields are mathematics and engineering. So mathematics, Alan Turing and the Turing machine on 1930s developed the theories with paper and pencil about how to perform computations by hand. So again, as shown on the screen, you can see Alan Turing, the father of modern computing. Okay, so casualty of bigotry and ignorance. So actually, he killed. So here's his history. Okay. So during World War II, by helping crack the impenetrable Enigma code used by Nazis, Alan Turing thought experiments became the precursor on which modern computers were built. So he started it. Despite his invaluable contribution to science, Turing was also a homosexual male, which was still a crime in the UK in the 1950s. Given the choice between chemical castration and imprisonment, he chose the former. He killed himself 2 years later. Okay? So this is Alan Turing. Next, for engineering, we have John von Neumann, and the von Neumann machine on 1940s showed how to build physical computers out of electronic circuitry. So the image below shows John von Neumann and the von Neumann machine. Okay? So mathematical roots. So Leibniz dream on 1600. Can we find a universal language for mathematical algorithms that will let us describe and solve any problem? So reduce all reasoning to a fixed set of basic rules. Determine truth or falsity of sentences by fixed rule for manipulating sentences. So again, at the right side of your screen, in 17th century, Leibniz dreamed of a machine that could calculate ideas. Okay, so that's Leibniz dream. Okay. Next, we have George Boole on 1800s. So he introduced the binary notation of calculation. So computers use binary system for logic and arithmetic. So at the right side of your screen, that's George Boole. Okay. So next, David Hilbert at 1928. So challenges the mathematical community to find an infallible mechanical method for constructing and checking truth of mathematical statements. So interested in an algorithm? So again, at the right side of your screen, that is David Hilbert. Okay? So the Turing machine and the Church Turing thesis. So Turing machine with a finite set of rules and an infinite amount of scratch paper for computation. That is Turing machine. Okay? So next, we have the Church Turing thesis. The Turing machine captures what we mean by computational system. So this is as powerful in any other mechanical computing agent. So Alonzo Church, Alan Turing, and Kurt Gödel construct arguments that there is no solution to Hilbert's challenge. So Turing builds a conceptual computer for his argument. So the first step development of calculator. So we are all familiar with this one. We have the abacus. Okay. So abacus is developed 5,000 years ago in the Middle East. So we have the upper deck, we have the lower deck. So we have 2 beads for the upper deck and then 5 beads for the lower deck. So we have the frames, the rods. Okay, so that is abacus. So the next one is the Pascaline. So first mechanical calculator using gears for calculation. That is 1642. So this is the actual Pascaline. Okay. Next is Charles Babbage difference engine, conceptual design that use hundreds of gears to compute mathematical functions on 1820s. Okay, so this is the analytical engine. So difference engine, 1822, huge calculator, never finished. So again, so as you can see, we don't have the image of the difference engines because the difference engine was never, never finished. So we have the analytical engine in 1833, the right side of your screen. It could store numbers, calculating mill used for punch metal cards for instruction. So it is powered by steam, accurate to 6 decimal places. Okay? So that's analytical engine. Next is we have the telegraph. So for the telegraph, it uses electricity to convey letters and transmit information quickly on year 1844. So next we have the Hollerith tabulating machine. It uses electricity and punch card to calculate the U.S. Census on 1890. So as shown below, we have the Hollerith tabulating machine. Okay. So next, we also have the Z2. So Z2 is a computer created by Conrad. Okay. It used circuitry to compute arithmetic operations in 1930s. So aside from Z2, actually, we have the Z3, we have the Z5, okay? It's all developed by Conrad. So program devices, we have the Jacquard Loom, as shown at the left side of your screen. It weaves cloth using a pattern specified using punch cards on 1801. So first stored program, metal cards. First computer manufacturing, okay, and still in use today. That's Jacquard Loom. So the analytic engine conceptual design for a machine consisting of a mill, store, printer, and reader. So analytic engine image was shown from the previous slide. So next we have the ENIAC. So when you say ENIAC, this is one of the first programmable electronic computers in 1945. So as shown on the screen at the right side, so this is ENIAC. Okay? So for von Neumann machine, it stored programs in electronic memory alongside the data on 1943. It moved and manipulate a program like data. It enabled high programming language. Okay? So machine languages. Only language computers directly understand. Natural language of computer defined by hardware design generally consists of strings of numbers. Instruct computers to perform elementary operation cumbersome for human. Okay? Are you familiar with the machine language class? When you say machine language, we're talking about what? We're talking about zeros or and one. We're talking about binaries. Okay? High-level language. So for the high-level language, similar to everyday English, use common mathematical notation, single statements, accomplish substantial tasks. So assembly language requires many instructions to accomplish simple tasks. We have the translator programs or the compilers, convert to assembly language, and then interpreter programs directly execute high-level language program. Okay? So if we have the machine language, we also have the high-level language. So when you say high-level language, it is similar to human language. Okay? And of course, we are using English language for the programming languages. Okay? Programming approaches. Structured programming, 1960s. Disciplined approach to writing programs, clear, easy to test and debug, and easy to modify. focus on what the program codes. So OOP, or Object-Oriented Programming, object is an entity characterized by a state and a behavior. So when you say objects, reusable software components that model real-world items. So meaningful software units, we have the data objects, time objects, paycheck objects, invoice objects, audio objects, video objects. We have the file objects, record objects. So any noun can be represented as an object. So more understandable, better organized, and easier to maintain than structured programming. So favor modularity. Okay? So C++ program. So built from pieces called classes and function. So we have the C++ standard library. So rich collection of existing classes and function. Building block approach to creating program software reuse. So plus, as we all know before, we have the C++. We started with the C. And next, they have a better version, which is the C++. But the library from C is also included in the C++. So meaning to say the functionalities, the classes of the C is inside also of the C++. Okay? So as I mentioned before, we have the libraries. The library is for what? What is the purpose of the library in a compiler or in a C++ environment? To recognize the function of the syntax, right? To recognize the classes, to recognize the function. Okay? So phases of C++ program. We have the edit, preprocess, compile, link, load, execute. Okay? So normally, when they discuss about the phases of C++ programs, it only contains three. It contains edit, compile, and execute. But here, we're going to discuss the specific phases of the C++. So when you say edit, program is created in the editor and stored on disk. So that's where you type your codes. Preprocess. So preprocessor program processes the code. Okay? Of course, you type the codes. What is the next step? You have to what? The editor is checking your codes, okay, or your syntax. And then after that, if you run the program, what is the next step? You have to what? The C++ has to compile the program. So the compiler creates object code and stores it on this. So next is the link. So linker links the object codes with the library. So meaning to say, once you compile the program, the compiler will pass it onto the linker list, and then it will check the libraries if to recognize, of course, to recognize the functionalities or the syntax. Okay? Next is what? Load. So when you say load, loader puts program in the memory or stores it in the memory. The last one is what? It executes. The CPU takes each instruction and executes it, meaning to say it runs the program. Okay? Possibly storing new data values as the program executes. So that's the end of the topic for week 3 class.